Disgraced former WWE chairman Vince McMahon's backstage antics have been the stuff of legend within the pro wrestling business, and these 10 instances here would highlight the dynamic between McMahon and his employees, and how people often felt his wrath throughout his time as the head honcho of WWE. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 times Vince McMahon berated people backstage. Number 10. Mickie James for her gesture at WrestleMania 22. Mickie James debuted on the WWE main roster in late 2005 with the gimmick of being Women's Champion Trish Stratus' biggest fan. She got to partner with Stratus on multiple occasions as the storyline progressed, with James' character becoming over-obsessed with her. The storyline then turned into a lesbian angle when James kissed Stratus under the mistletoe and then proceeded to proclaim her love for her at the 2006 Royal Rumble. The storyline soon evolved into a rivalry between the two superstars after James turned on Stratus when the latter asked for some time apart, leading to a Women's Championship match at WrestleMania 22. At that event, James defeated Stratus to win the Women's Championship for the very first time. But James went a bit overboard during the match when she grabbed Stratus by the crotch and made a provocative gesture towards the camera. Yep, you know the one I'm talking about. And while talking to WrestleCast Radio, James revealed that Vince McMahon was furious backstage when she walked through the curtains, yelled at her for the crass gesture, and ordered that the moment be edited out of future video releases. However, this thankfully did not affect James' push, as she held the title for 134 days and became a 6-time champion by the time her first run with the company ended in 2010. Still, Vince was not happy about this Mania moment. Number 9. Chewed into Dax Harwood for touching women. Judging by all the controversies surrounding him currently, "don't touch women" is not a phrase many would have expected Vince McMahon to utter to another person. But that is exactly what he did when he told off FTR's Dax Harwood for almost brushing shoulders with Alexa Bliss during a backstage segment. During their time in WWE as The Revival, Harwood and Cash Wheeler were part of a backstage segment that saw them celebrating their victory that night. They ran into Bliss and Nikki Cross, and Harwood happened to brush shoulders with the former, like he nudged her ever so slightly. And while it looked harmless, Vince McMahon saw otherwise and called Harwood to the gorilla position and chewed him out by saying men don't touch women. Harwood talked about the incident on an episode of his FTR with Dax Harwood podcast and revealed that he tried to defend himself by saying he barely brushed shoulders with Bliss. He explained that it happened because they were confined to a small shot and everyone needed to fit into the picture. Harwood revealed that he got in trouble after the exchange and even attributed the incident to causing the downfall of the rest of FTR's career with WWE. Number 8. He tore into Bray Wyatt for not doing the spider walk. While talking on his podcast, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, the current TNA star recalled that Vince McMahon chewed out the late Bray Wyatt for not doing one of his famous spider walks during a match. And while Hardy claimed that Wyatt was like a son to McMahon, their relationship was, well, volatile. After losing the Ultimate Deletion match against Hardy, Wyatt took a brief hiatus before returning at WrestleMania 34 as a babyface and helped Hardy win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They formed the Deleters of Worlds Tag Team and went on to hold the Raw Tag Team Championship before getting disbanded in July 2018 because, according to Hardy, WWE was tired of the duo pitching multiple ideas. Stop being so creative. McMahon wanted the team to be perfect and did not hold back when things weren't going according to his plan. Hardy claimed that Vince caught Wyatt walking through the curtains after one of their matches and laid into him for not performing his signature spider walk during the showdown and failing to play the gimmick to perfection. Now yes, Hardy revealed that he had seen McMahon acting supportive of Wyatt on some occasions, but also saw him being too hard on him like a coach at times. We're not going to be harsh on the late great Bray Wyatt here though, so let's hear your favorite Bray moments in those comments. Number 7. Teddy Long for mentioning Randy Orton's old nickname. Throughout his time at the helm of WWE, Vince McMahon had a strict policy for what the talent were allowed to say in the ring. Along with banning certain words, he was also strict on nicknames. Remember when Michael Cole used to yell, "The Big Dog," or "It's boss time" every time Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks made their entrances? How could we ever forget? It was forced down our throats. And while he made sure to sell the nicknames, Vince was also adamant about making people forget the old ones when wrestlers got new ones. Randy Orton made a name for himself early in his career as the Legend Killer, for example, but when he embraced a more vile character and turned into the Viper, McMahon naturally didn't want anyone to call Orton by his former nickname. However, former SmackDown general manager Theodore Long messed up and received a verbal bashing from his boss. While talking to The Undertaker on his 6 Feet Under with Mark Calloway podcast, Long recalled when he introduced Randy as the Legend Killer during a dark match in Orton's hometown of St. Louis. Despite the positive crowd reaction, Long ran into an irate Vince McMahon backstage, who chewed him out for bringing up Orton's old moniker out of nowhere. Make myself laugh. Long revealed that he admitted to McMahon that he was just playing around and apologized, assuring that it would not happen again, player. Number 6 pulled Ric Flair and Macho Man from the ring mid-match and ordered them to redo everything. After losing the WWE Championship to Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 8, Ric Flair looked content to reclaim the title. Despite failing in his first attempt, he found a way to get involved in Savage's title defense against the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam 1992 and injured the former's knee. Flair then used the injury to his advantage to defeat Savage a few days later on an episode of Primetime Wrestling to win the WWE Championship for the second time in his career. However, the match wasn't without any chaos, as Vince McMahon did not like how things were turning out in the ring. He was reportedly not a fan of all the interferences from Curt Hennig, who was in Flair's corner. Speaking on his podcast, To Be the Man, Flair recalled McMahon stopping the match midway and calling them backstage to give them a piece of his mind. The former WWE chairman reportedly laid into them and ordered them to redo it. The two wrestlers then proceeded to restart the bout as instructed, and this time things went on to McMahon's satisfaction, and the contest ended with Flair winning his second WWE Championship. Just a mad billionaire playing with his wrestling toys, eh? If you, yes you, are finding this look at the times Vince lost his cool with people backstage quite fascinating, then hit that subscribe button and there is more where that came from, baby. Fascinating videos, not Vince losing his cool, hopefully. Number 5 chewed out Braun Strowman for using one of his banned words. As mentioned earlier, Vince McMahon had a list of banned words he didn't want anyone to say on WWE television. This included words like hospital, belt, strap, and even professional wrestling. He also didn't want anyone to use the words title shot, as his go-to terms were title opportunity or title match. He's a weird man. Speaking to Lillian Garcia on her podcast, Lillian Garcia Making Their Way to the Ring, WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley recalled seeing Vince McMahon chewing out Braun Strowman for using the words title shot on TV. The segment in question happened on the 30th of January 2017 episode of Raw, where Strowman asked then Universal Champion Kevin Owens for the title shot he promised. Foley heard McMahon tearing into Strowman for using that term and correcting him that title match was the right phrase. Vince wanted WWE to be more of an entertainment company rather than a classic wrestling promotion, which is the reason he abolished even the terms pro wrestling or wrestlers from being used on television. But fans always questioned the reasons behind him banning just simple, normal terms such as title shot. Like, what was the point? It was again just all very weird and very Vince. Number 4, Kevin Thorne for looking like The Undertaker. Not every wrestler can make a supernatural gimmick work like Mark Calloway did with The Undertaker. But that did not stop WWE from trying to introduce more mysterious characters into its programming over the years. WWE gambled with a few characters in the process, and Kevin Thorne was one of them. He first debuted on the WWE main roster as Mordecai in May 2004, a religious zealot who was on a mission to rid the world of all sin. He wore all white and had blonde hair, which symbolized his purity. But WWE shelved the character after just 3 televised matches, as he got sent back to developmental and eventually got released in 2005. So much for that then. However, he returned the following year with a new vampire gimmick under the name Kevin Thorne, and started competing in WWE WWE's revamped ECW. Talking to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Thorne discussed his time in WWE and how Vince McMahon actually once berated him backstage for looking like the dead man. He revealed that he was working with Dusty Rhodes to chalk up the perfect plan for an eventual feud with The Undertaker down the road. And WWE reportedly had plans for him to form a faction and go after the Phenom. Thorne said that it was during this time that WWE officials asked him to take the red off his hair and told him to dress more in black with his ties. He stated that after all the things he had been doing to not look like The Undertaker, WWE was now asking him to do the exact opposite. However, things took a turn after Thorne came back from a not-so-great match. He got chewed out by Vince for looking like The Undertaker, which was exactly what he was told to do. He then had to cut his hair and change his looks. And when he came back, McMahon did a complete 180 and berated him for cutting his hair and claimed that the old look was what they really wanted. Make up your mind. He got put on the shelf and sent back to developmental once again, and it eventually led to his exit from the company in 2009. Number 3, Seth Rollins for making Kofi Kingston look good. Long before Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston competed against each other as the Universal and WWE champions respectively, the two superstars wrestled a few televised contests in 2014 when Rollins was coming up as a singles performer. Rollins received a big push as the protege of the Authority after betraying the Shield, and naturally WWE wanted him to tread over the other stars in short matches to establish himself as a top heel. Vince chose Kofi Kingston as one of the wrestlers he could use to put Rollins over and booked the latter to beat Kingston in a brief match. Speaking on ENC's Pod of Awesomeness, Rollins revealed that he respected Kingston a lot and didn't want to just squash him in the ring, so he gave him a bit of offense during the match and made him look good before defeating him. However, McMahon was not pleased and reportedly lashed out at Rollins, telling him if he wanted to be his top guy, he needed to do things his way. Rollins stated that Michael Hayes had to take him aside and explain what McMahon wanted out of the whole situation, and Kingston and Rollins eventually had to redo the match. He loves a redo, this guy, doesn't he? Number 2, cursed out Batista for blading and fined him $100,000. In the earlier eras before the company went PG in 2008, it was common for fans to witness WWE wrestlers wearing crimson masks during matches. If you somehow didn't know at this point, wrestlers cut themselves on the forehead using a blade to cause this bleeding. However, many wrestlers have accidentally cut a little too deep into themselves in the heat of the moment and suffered severe blood loss over the years, including Eddie Guerrero, who suffered the same fate during his match against JBL on Judgment Day 2004. Yeah, that is quite the image. The transition to PG gave more reasons for WWE to ban the wrestlers from blading, but Batista, who was not a fan of the company's new direction from the get-go, chose to ignore that rule when he faced Chris Jericho inside a steel cage. Batista recalled the incident while talking to Jericho on his podcast Talk is Jericho, and stated how Vince fined him a hefty $100,000 for blading during their match. A livid McMahon called both superstars for a meeting the following week and pointed out the precise moment Batista bladed during the match. He also fined Chris Jericho $5,000 and levied the same amount on producer Dean Malenko and referee Mike Chioda. However, Batista took ownership of the situation and paid all the fines himself. Gotta love Big Dave. Number 1, made a writer quit for mentioning his name in Bret Hart's Hall of Fame speech. The WWE Hall of Fame ceremony is a platform where many expressions of gratitude are shared, with inductees acknowledging everyone who supported and guided them throughout their careers. However, while he wanted everyone to have their moment, Vince also ensured no inductees mentioned his name during their acceptance speeches. However, the 2019 ceremony became an infamous event for 2 different reasons, both concerning Bret Hart. Hart became one of the few legends to have multiple Hall of Fame inductions, as he got inducted again as part of the Hart Foundation. Apart from the controversy surrounding a fan invading the ring to attack Bret while delivering his acceptance speech, what an arsehole, another issue that took center stage was Vince's reaction to Hart thanking him in his speech. McMahon reportedly berated writer Robert Evans, who helped Bret with his speech, and things eventually led to Evans quitting on the spot. Dave Meltzer shed more light on the situation, claiming the atmosphere was already tense backstage with Hart's attack, and despite the speech getting approved after going through multiple channels, McMahon still chose to take it all out on Evans. What a boss. If you're looking for more of these sort of interesting lists, then why not tap on this 10 exact moments Vince McMahon lost faith in his own WWE creation recreations video too. It's a great time. Have fun.